Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 6 English lesson on planning and organizing writing. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username, as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 6. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of planning and organizing writing. So our chapter is planning and organizing writing. Our subject is English Language Arts, grade 6. And the lessons that we're going to be focusing on under the chapter of planning and writing and organizing writing is to determine the main idea and to identify text structures. All right. So when it comes to planning and organizing writing, right? Then it means that we need to determine what the main idea is within a text, within a story, right? And then we also have text structures that we need to identify, and it's usually depending on the different text structures that authors use to identify or to organize, the writing or ideas in writing. So authors, they use different text structures to organize their writing or to organize their ideas in writing. And when it comes to text structures, then learning to identify these structures will help you to understand the relationship between either ideas in informational texts. So you can also use these structures to organize your own writing, right? So authors, they use different text structures to organize their ideas in writing. And learning to identify these structures will help you to understand the relationships between ideas in informational text. So when it comes to text structures, right, we can use these text structures to organize even our own writing. So usually we do the planning and stuff, but that is basically like text structures. So there's different types of structures, right? So we have different types of structures. So we have a cause-effect structure. And a cause-effect structure, it presents the causes as well as the effects of a particular event, either a trend or a situation. So we have a cause-effect structure, which presents the causes as well as effects of a particular event, trend, or situation. And when it comes to the cause-effect structure, this structure, it often uses words as well as phrases such as because, since, as a result, due to, or consequently. So that is the cause effect structure, right? And we said that authors, they use structures to organize their ideas in writing. And we can also use these structures to organize our own writing. And the first type of structure is the cause effect structure, which is causes the effects of a particular event, trend, or situation. And they use words and phrases such as because, since, as a result, due to, or consequently. All right. And then we have another type of structure, right, which is a compare and contrast structure. So a compare and contrast structure. And a compare and contrast structure, it presents similarities. It's like where you're comparing it, and comparisons. It also presents differences, which is the contrast between something that is two or more. And this structure, it often uses words or phrases such as like similarly, or in the same way for comparing, right? Or other hand, in contrast, unlike for contrasting. Then we have another type of structure, which is a problem solution structure. And a problem solution structure, it presents a problem and suggests one or more possible solution. So a problem solution structure, it presents a problem and suggests one or more possible solutions. And this structure, it often uses words such as issue, question, puzzle, purpose, as well as answer. Because we will have our problem and eventually we're going to have to find our solution to a problem. So that is the problem solution structure. Then we have the last structure, which is the sequential structure. And a sequential structure, it describes series of events that happens in a certain order. So a sequential structure, it describes a series of events that happen in a certain order. And when it comes to the structure, right, this structure, it often uses specific dates and times or words such as first, next, during, finally, and while. Right? So these are four different types of structures. And we said authors, they use different structures or text structures to organize their ideas in writing. And if we learn to identify these structures, Then it will help us to understand the relationships between ideas in informational texts, right? And then you can also use these structures to organize your own type of writing. And the four type of structures are cause effect structure, a compare contrast structure, a problem solution structure, as well as a sequential structure. All right. So we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So now we're going to aplusstudents.ca, right? And we're going to do our tutorial lesson as well as our tests. Oh gosh. All right, so now we are by planning and organizing writing. So we're going to determine the main idea, right, within a sentence. All right, so now we need to read the passage below, right? The unusual bird parenting. So, unusual bird parenting. It says, birds have a reputation as excellent parents. They expend a great deal of effort in building nests in which to lay their eggs. They patiently incubate the eggs, keeping them warm and safe until they hatch. Birds also bring food to their newly hatched offspring until the baby birds are independent. However, some unusual birds, known as brood parasites, don't provide any parental care for their young. Perhaps the most famous brood parasite is the cuckoo. Instead of building a nest, the cuckoo lays her eggs in the nest of another species with similar looking eggs. The female cuckoo simply removes an egg laid by the host female, lays her own egg, and then leaves, expecting the host bird to care for the imposter. Right? That is unusual bird parenting. So we need to, for example, say what the main idea of this passage is. All right. And if we look at the main idea, or we identify the main idea within this text, which is unusual bird parenting, right? They are actually saying that birds are generally good parents, right? They have good parenting because they build a nest, they provide, let's say a home for the babies or for the young, they feed the young, the eggs needs to be nice and warm, or like it needs to be in a warm place, right? In order for it before it hatches. But then we have a different type of bird, right? And it says the main idea is unlike most species of birds, brood parasites such as the cuckoo don't provide any parental care. All right. Then it says once again, unlike most species of birds, brood parasites such as the cuckoo don't provide any parental care. They just leave their eggs in another nest, remove that egg, places their egg in that specific egg, and they allow the other birds to just take care of the young. All right. So if we look at the second one, right, it says when Heidi transformed televised football. So when Heidi transformed televised football, meaning football either on TV or on the phone. It says on November 17, 1968, football fans across the United States sat glued to their televisions. A close game between two top teams, which is the New York Jets and the Oakland Raiders, was being broadcast. When the Jets, when the Jets pulled ahead with only 50 seconds remaining, viewers went wild. But then, just as the Raiders were bringing the ball across the midfield, the game disappeared from the screen. In its place, a previously scheduled children's movie, Heidi, started playing. Callers flooded the TV network's phone lines, but it was too late. The Raiders, scored two touchdowns in the very final moment, touchdowns that were unseen by all but the West Coast viewers. As a result of the interrupted event, dubbed the Heidi game, television networks began delaying their regular schedules program until football games had ended. All right. And if we look at the main idea within that sentence, right, within the passage, remember they were disturbed by a broadcasting, automated broadcast, not even a broadcast, like an automated movie, right? So after that, they started calling the game the Heidi Transformed Television Football, or more like the Heidi game, right? Because Heidi came up. So, which means that if we were to select the main idea, we would say, after Heidi interrupted a crucial moment during a television football game, networks began to delay regular scheduled shows until football games were over. All right. And if we now go to the next one, right, which is human activity and earthquakes. So, human activity and earthquakes. So, when Americans think of earthquakes, they tend to think California, a state known for its frequent seismic activity. In recent years, however, people in Arkansas, Colorado, Kansas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas have been feeling the ground shake more often. An increase in oil and gas drilling in these states has led to human induced earthquakes. All right, and if we were to select the main idea, right, it says an increase in oil and gas drilling has caused a corresponding increase in earthquakes in 6 states. They're not mentioning again the states, but they say that after time, these specific states they could experience or could feel the earth shaking or moving. Can you hear me now? All right. And they're saying that an increase in oil and gas drilling has caused a corresponding increase in earthquakes in the 6 states. All right. All right, let's go to our test. Can you hear? Okay, so you can hear me now. Okay, so it says to stand or not to stand, right? We need to read the passage below, and then we're going to say what the main idea is within that passage. So to stand or not to stand. So in 2016, Vallecito Elementary School in San Rafael, California, became the first US school to replace all its ordinary desks with raised desks that students stand at. All right. So, speaking to the report from Time for Kids magazine, one student at the school gave the standing desk a high praise. You feel happier, you are less tired, and you're more active. She said, according to several studies, children working at standard desks burn more calories and are more focused on tasks. However, some teachers and parents are opposed to the change. They are concerned that standing for long periods of time could cause fatigue, strain on the legs and feet. All right. Now we need to select the main idea within that sentence. Is the first option. Some people say that standing desks promote good study habits, but others are wary about the new desks. Or is it C? Studies have shown that standard desks help students focus on their schoolwork while being more active. We need to select the the correct answer. All right. Okay, so we need to select the options, right? So the first one, some people say that standing discs promote good healthy habits, but are worried about the new discs. Or is the second option, which is studies have shown that standing discs help students focus on their schoolwork while being more active. All right, so if we select the correct option, all right, let's choose option one. Because as much as it's good study habits, but others are not okay with it, right? So that is correct. So it promotes good and healthy habits. It's finding bombs in Germany. Finding bombs in Germany. So well done. Option one is correct. Finding bombs in Germany. During World War II, American and British forces dropped millions of tons of bombs on German cities. Germany surrendered in 1945, but nearly 10% of the bombs had never exploded. 70 years later, more than 2,000 tons of unexploded bombs are found in Germany each year. But before construction, all right, so we need to say what the main idea is within this passage. Almost 10% of the bombs dropped on Germany during the World War II never exploded, or because there are so many unexploded bombs in Germany, the country has a special force trained to defuse them. All right, so we need to select the main idea. Is it almost 10% of the bombs dropped on Germany during World War II never exploded? Or because there are so many unexploded bombs in Germany, the country has a special force trained to defuse them. We need to choose the correct option, which is the main idea within that passage. So almost 10% of the bombs dropped on Germany during the World War II never exploded, or because there are so many unexploded bombs in Germany, the country has a special force trained to defuse them. Right? And if we are going to select the correct option with option one or option two, we're going to go with option two, right? To show that Germany has special forces of firefighters as well as police officers, right? To defuse them. And that is correct. So well done. Option two is correct. Well done. All right, we are now saving the rhinos. Poachers in Africa are killing large numbers of rhinos for their horns. Rhinoceros horns are valued for use in traditional medicines in Vietnam and China, can fetch as much as $36,000 a pound. Officials have tried to protect the rhinos. They have created fenced areas for the animals, patrolled their habitats, and even tried removing their horns. Despite these efforts, the number of rhinos in Africa has been dwindling. One creative solution to the poaching problem is to remove the rhinos from Africa altogether. Ray, Ray Dearlove, the founder of the Australian Rhino Project, came up with a plan to relocate 80 rhinos to a safari outside Adelaide, Australia, where a breeding herd can be established, right? So that is how they are planning on saving the rhinos because they are thinking of maybe relocating these rhinos all to Australia where they have a rhino project, right? To do a safari park outside Adelaide, which is in Australia. They think that that is going to avoid the situation where the rhinos are being poached for their horns. So now we need to select the main idea in the passage. It says, option one, because other attempts to protect African rhinos from poachers have failed, The Australian Rhino Project is relocating the rhinos to Australia. Or option two, officials have tried to protect African rhinos from poachers by guarding their habitat and removing their horns, but their efforts have been largely unsuccessful. All right. So we need to select the main idea within this sentence, right? And if we were to select the main idea within this passage, then we will go with option one, right? Because in order to avoid the poachers, they are trying to attempt to protect the African rhinos from poachers, right? By relocating the rhinos to Australia. So option one is correct. So well done. Option one is correct. All right, so now we need to identify the text structures, right? We see that there are four different types of text structures, and these text structures are used by authors. So authors use different text structures to organize their ideas in writing. And learning to identify these structures will help you to understand the relationship between ideas in informational text, right? And you can also use these structures to organize your own writing. All right. So we have our text structures, right? And they say that learning to understand and identify these structures will help you to understand the relationship between ideas and informational text, right? And you can also use these text structures to organize your own writing. All right. And we said when it comes to the text structures, right, we have the cause effect structure, a compare and contrast structure, a problem solution structure, and a sequential structure. And we said a cause and effect structure presents the causes as well as effects of a particular event, trend, or situation. And this structure often uses words and phrases such as beautiful, since, as a result, due to, or consequently. Then we have the second one, which is a compare contrast structure. It presents similarities, which is the comparisons, and differences, which is contrast between two or more things. And then we have a problem solution structure. Presents a problem and suggests one or more possible solutions. This structure often uses words such as issue, question, puzzle, propose, and answer. All right, and then we have a sequential structure, which describes a series of events that happen in a certain order. And this structure often uses specific dates and times or words such as first, next, during, finally, and wow. All right. let us go to, okay, here it says, right, with the cause and effect structure, right? Here we have the cause and we have an effect. So that is how it is when it comes to the types of structure. You have maybe the cause on the one side and you have the effect on the other side, right? The same with the comparisons one, right? All right, so we need to select the main idea within, not even the main idea, we need to basically identify the text structures. So now we're going to begin our test. We need to say which type of structure it is. So we need to look at the text. It says people have different learning styles and it can be helpful to understand your own, so your own learning styles, right? For example, if you are a visual learner who acquires knowledge most easily by reading or seeing, the best study methods for you may be using flashcards, writing things down, or color coding information, right, to remember it more easily. So, on the other hand, if you're an auditory learner, you tend to learn best by hearing and listening, right? And if that's the case, you may study more effectively by reading new materials aloud and having someone else read stories, directions, assignments, or questions to you. We need to say if it is compare and contrast structure or is sequential structure. All right, so compare, it's the example where you are comparing certain things, like for example, in this sense, the learning styles, right? They're saying there are different types of, um, let's say, learning styles, especially the type of styles that you feel works best for you. Like if you're a visual learner, and when it comes to study methods, then color coding things or writing things down or flashcards, those are things that will basically stand out for you compared to if you're a visual learner, right? Then it means that if you hear things and listens to things, right, that means that it will be way easier for you. You'll understand it. You'll be able to read on your own after understanding it, and then you'll be able to basically um, read the stories, directions, and assignments or questions for yourself, right? That is comparing and contrasting. It's like comparing certain things or certain structures to your own use. So that is compare and contrast. Differences. Oopsie. Comparing the differences. Because here they're saying that if you're a visual learner, then flashcards, writing things down, color coding things will help you more to understand something or to see something, right? So when you're studying, it will be less harder because you'll remember I colored in that one pink, or the facts was blue, or the whatever topic was red, for example, compared to if you an auditory learner that learns based on hearing and listening. Then it means that reading things aloud even will basically help you, right? So if we choose the correct option, let's go with option 1. All right, so well done. Comparing and contrasting is correct. All right, so it says, you may have heard that eating an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Perhaps that's not strictly true, but it is correct that including an apple or including a fruit in your diet can result in better overall health because it is so full of vitamins and nutrients. Eating plenty of fruit can help reduce the risks of heart attacks, strokes, and even some types of cancer. Many fruits, including bananas and melons, are also particularly rich in potassium, which may be helpful in lowering blood pressure. Additionally, the fiber in fruit can help combat type 2 diabetes and obesity. So now we need to say which organizational structures does this text primarily use? All right, so we need to say which type of structure this is. Is it a cause and effect structure? Or are we comparing and contrasting the specific structure? All right, then if we choose the if we choose the type of structure, right, we are going to choose the cause and effects because here they're telling us different causes as well as effects of eating fruit specifically, not an apple, but specifically eating fruit. And they're saying that it will reduce certain illnesses or avoid certain illnesses and diseases. All right, let's do the last one. It says the Centers for Disease Control and Preventions, which is CDC, examines published research in order to address the question of how to reduce injuries and deaths in traffic collisions, right? Based on the research findings, the CDC has concluded that most effective way to improve safety is to increase seatbelt use. The CDC recommends that states more strictly enforce laws that make seatbelts a requirement. According to the CDC, these laws are highly effective in increasing seatbelts using a saving lives. You effect in increasing seatbelts use and saving lives, right? So now, which organization structure does this text primarily use? They're telling us about the safety, right, on the roads of using seat belts, and there's going to be consequences if you are not going to use a safety belt, right? So in this one, they are mentioning some problems as well as solutions to the problems that they have mentioned. So well done. They have mentioned problems, which is the non-use of safety belts, and the solution is to use it in order to have a safety journey. Right? All right, that is now the end of our lesson on planning and organizing writing. Right? We see that there's different types of structures when it comes to our writing, and we went over a few, right? And then we also went over the main idea within a text, right? The main ideas are things that basically stands out within a in a text, right? It tells us what the texts are really about. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson, grade 6, on planning and organizing writing. Thank you very much for joining our class and thank you very much for interacting. I really hope that you're going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.